Hey guys, this is Healthy Life Designing. I'm Darian Rolls. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am in like one of the coolest places. I'm going to be talking about bees today, and my guests are going to be talking about bees. And the funny thing is, I've always had a crazy fear of bees. I've totaled a car because of a honeybee. And now I get to learn, and you guys get to learn all of the amazing things that bees are doing. And hopefully you guys are going to be inspired like I am, because you're going to learn about products, you're going to learn how honey can help with allergies, you're going to learn how 4 really talented people have all come together to create a really cool business called BEEpothecary. It's right here in Lancaster. They're selling their products all over the place, and they're sharing their research and some of the stories that they've heard about that has been helping people all over. But you're gonna need to stick around if you wanna hear any more. So stick around, and we're gonna have more when we come back.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
It's a hometown bank. It's located here in Fairfield County. Branches are convenient. They're located here in Pickerington, where my office is. I'm in Lancaster a lot, and they have plenty of branches there. And I much prefer dealing with the hometown banks rather than the larger nationwide chain banks.
So far, everybody's been so personable, and for us to bank with the local bank, and we bank in Lancaster, it's been so wonderful because we'll call somebody, Steve will call somebody, and they'll get back to us right away, or they'll say, okay, we're going to make a decision in the basement tomorrow, and they'll get back to us, rather than calling a bigger bank where we had to wait and we didn't always get the same person the next time we called for a investment banking opportunity, or getting something appraised, any of those kind of things.
Everybody is very customer friendly. A lot of times I'll bring my dog Bear with me, and the staff love him here, and of course he loves them and the treats that he gets. So it's just a nice kind of a family type environment.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey guys, we're back. This is Healthy Life Designing, and we have our special guest here, the co-founders of BEEpothecary, Laurie Dodson and Jeannie Som. And thank you so much for letting us be here in this amazing space. I mean, when we pulled up, we got to see all of the action because Laurie and Steve were down in the hive. Hive? And it was very active.
Yep. Definitely in the hive. We were extracting, actually moving from a nucleus hive down to a full frame, 10 frame hive. So, it's a swarm going to now getting ready for winter. We're winterizing our bees.
Yes, and so BEEpothecary. How did this all evolve? Where did this begin?
Well, Laurie and I went to the Honey Fest in Lithopolis probably 7 years ago or so now, and she got really interested. And then she and her husband went to a beginning beekeeping class. Steve kind of jumped on the bandwagon, but I wasn't really interested. I was a school teacher, and I had too many things to do, too many papers to grade, but I liked to read stuff and learn stuff to teach my students, so I started reading some of the books and kind of got interested in the medicinal and health benefits of honey, and then came across the word Propolis, and I didn't really know what that was, but they did. And it's something in the hive that most beekeepers, especially in this country, hate because it's sticky and messy. But what I discovered was that it's harvested all over the world for its medicinal and health benefits.
Right.
And that got me hooked. And pretty soon I'm out there in the hives with all of them.
Okay.
But we just started trying the propolis for our own health issues, and started it out with my daughter and her husband that both had kind of chronic issues. My daughter is an asthmatic, and she got sick and lost her voice and started taking the propolis 3 times a day, and within 2 days she was well and went back to work, never missed a day. Her husband had walking pneumonia, took a round of antibiotics, and 2 weeks later it all came back. Took the propolis for 3 days, and it was gone.
And he hasn't had it since. So that's the amazing thing. So the propolis has prevented both of them from getting severe sicknesses afterwards. Or
And then, okay, so then can you explain how it's derived?
How the propolis is made?
Yes.
So the propolis is, the bees go to the tops of the trees and they gather the resin and the buds from and bark from the trees, and they bring it back down and they mix it with their enzymes, and then that forms the propolis itself, and they put it on everything inside the hive. They put it on the walls, in the comb, they clean with it, they sanitize with it, they medicate their bees with it. What it does is keeps bacteria, funguses, viruses, and any kind of
Mycobacteria.
out of the hive. Right. And the great thing about propolis is that if a new bacteria comes into their hive, they're going to go to a new tree, gather new resin, bring it back down, and counteract what's happening in the hive. So it's a natural antibiotic that's always changing within the environment, which is totally different from our antibiotics that we have today, which are 30 to 50 years old. And so we're getting old, antibiotics trying to counteract what's happening. Look at the coronavirus itself. I mean, an old antibiotic might not be able to take care of this virus. Not that antibiotics will actually take care of viruses, but you know what I mean.
Right.
They're always evolving and changing, and our bees are doing the same thing with the propolis. And every hive is different, so all propolis is different, but they all do the same thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And speaking of evolving and changing, you've got spring, summer, fall.
Yes.
What's it like in your business during these 3 different months with the bees? Because I know when Laurie and I spoke on the phone recently, it was you lost a lot of hives at one point, and me trying to understand and learn how how these bees travel, and when they leave your property and you're depending on their honey, what do you do?
Well, they're not necessarily leaving our property.
Okay.
They're dying.
The bees themselves are really under duress from a lot of things, and we've heard people say it's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Right.
There's so many factors that are affecting not just the bees, but all the pollinators. It's lack of forage, with the corporate farming with no weeds, no fence rows to grow things that they would go to. It's pesticides, herbicides, pollution in the air, and then also about 20 years ago, a specific it's a bug on a bug, a mite came into this country from Indonesia that is sort of like a tick. It's like a little teeny brown speck on a bee, and it eats their body fat system that governs everything the bees do. So, and they lay eggs in the larva. So from their birth, they're already affected by this mite eating parts of their body, and it affects everything they do. From their bees change their job every couple of days to do something different in the hive. They don't know how to do that. They don't know how to navigate out and back. It affects their ability to keep their body warm or keep their body hydrated, their navigation system, all of those things. And then of course when winter comes and really puts stress on them, if they're already compromised from the mites, then they die. And but not only in the winter. I mean, we lose hives all year long, really. And so it's kind of a crapshoot as a beekeeper. You just don't know.
Because this is like the critical time right now for us to really maintain the mite count in our hives, because we're prepping to get them ready for winter. But if we're not taking care of them, then the mites themselves are going to destroy our hive.
Right.
Sorry about that.
And with the hives, so on the property, you've got these boxes. How many different hives can you keep? I mean, how long do they last? I mean, does it depend on the weather? Is it insulated?
They live all year long.
Okay.
So in the wintertime, or before winter, we take off the honey boxes and such and kind of force the bees down. We even rearrange where they've laid eggs into the bottom. And in the wintertime, the bees that are being born now actually are physiologically different from the bees from the summer. They have a different body system, and they're called fat bees. And they live actually longer. They will live 6 months instead of 6 weeks. And the job of those bees in the wintertime, and by the way, they're all females. They kick the males out for the winter.
Yes, there are no males.
Smart ladies.
They cluster around the queen, and they shiver their muscles to make heat. And their job for the entire winter is to keep the queen at about 95 degrees in the middle.
So there's a cluster of bees, and that queen's right smack in the center.
And you need to have food then around them, and the bees on the outside get the food and they pass it in. It's kind of like the penguins do in Antarctica, where they huddle together and they take turns being on the outside. But the goal then is to keep the queen alive so that in the late winter she can start laying again. So those winter bees have to last long enough to take care of those first larvae and raise those up until they start hatching.
So where do the male bees go?
Well, she'll lay more eggs to create a drone bee, which is the male bee.
Okay,
but she won't do that until spring
Or late winter.
or late winter, because she has to prep and prepare for those, because those drones will go out and mate with other queens. They won't mate with her, but they will go out and mate with other queens.
But that's the drone's only job.
Yep.
The drone bees, the male bees, do nothing in the hive.
They don't have stingers either.
They're only there to inseminate
Those are my
a
kind of
queen.
bees.
Yeah.
But the girls do all the work.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So then how long does the average female bee live compared to the male?
they only live about 6
6
weeks.
weeks.
A queen could last maybe 2 or even 3 years. But typically when they're being raised commercially, you might replace the queen because she stops laying or slows down in her laying. And sometimes the bees replace her.
Right.
Okay. And then so when we showed up, you were in a hive with feral bees.
Feral bees. So we set a feral bee trap because we know that those feral bees are a stronger bee because they've actually winterized. They've gotten through the winter somehow or another. And their DNA is a little bit stronger because they can fight the mite population a lot better than our domesticated bees, which are the bees that you hear about people ordering from Georgia or from Washington or something like that. And I say domesticated. It just means that they've been, there's bees that have been raised in a hive. Maybe the queen has been artificially inseminated. Maybe she's been inseminated with other drones and then added to a group of other bees and then shipped out to a beekeeper to put into a hive. That's when I say domesticated. Feral bees are, you set a trap, wild bees come in, they take over your box, and then you start to raise those, and that would be the stronger of the bees. And so next spring, since this is a new hive, next spring, I'm praying that this hive gets through the winter, and then I can split that one because that DNA is the DNA that we want for all of our bees. And so we're hoping that all of our beekeepers in the area kind of start thinking this way because we want a stronger DNA. The problem is if you go and get a bee that has weaker DNA, those drones are going to come in to and inseminate my queen, and now the DNA of her brood is going to be weak again. So we're trying to
add their genetics.
Yes.
We want the
exactly.
feral
It's
bee
basically
genetics.
the healthier bees.
A stronger bee.
Yes.
They've adapted to the environment. You know,
Right.
when people order bees, and they come from Georgia or they come from California, they're used to the warmer weather. But the other thing that they've discovered is in pockets here in Ohio and other states around us, the feral bees have developed through natural selection the ability to chew the legs off the mites, which kills them.
Right.
So they're actually taking care of the mites on their own. And we have a gentleman working with our bee club who has brought in the electronic microscopes. And we can put the mites under the microscope and see whether they've been chewed or not. And then you can figure out from counting how many mites have dropped off. If we have 50 mites that dropped and 10 of them have been chewed, then they're chewing at 20%.
Crazy.
You know, and so we're looking for those genetics to bring into our kept bees and our
Sure.
apiaries
Right.
to
Yes.
add that to the gene pool.
Nice.
And again, if we can get all of our beekeepers to think this way, then the bee population will explode. But it's trying to get them to
Right. I gotcha.
go against the old way of thinking.
Yes. And we're going to take a quick break right here, you guys. Jeannie Somm and Laurie Dotson, the co-founders of BEEpothecary. Stick around because we're going to have more when we come back.
Dagger Law has been part of the Lancaster community for more than 110 years. This is where we live and work. You'll see us at festivals, sporting events, and all around town. We consider our clients as friends, and we walk alongside you through challenging times. Whether you're a growing business, a changing family, facing litigation, planning your future, or dealing with land issues, we're right here. We are local. We are trusted. We are experienced. Dagger Law.
Hey guys, we're back. BEEpothecary. We're talking so many things we've learned so far about how honey is made, the male bees, the female bees, the queen, the ankle biters. But now I think we were just talking, and I have severe allergies to ragweed, pollen, grasses. I mean, you name it. It's not a fun place when we go back on our property. But there's things that you can do with honey that can help people with allergies. And even though fall's here, I mean, I know a ton of people that have allergies in the fall.
So a good way to do that is to buy your local honey. All honey has pollen in it. So let's say you have an allergy in the summertime to whatever pollen's happening in your area. What you want to do is get last year's honey from the summer and start taking it in the spring of this year. Does that make sense? So this year you want to buy fall honey, and then next summer you want to start taking that fall honey so you're prepped for the fall allergies.
Right.
And then your allergy symptoms will not be so severe, and or you will lose, you won't have the symptoms at all.
And that's the piece people forget. There's a lot of anecdotal information about people that have success taking honey or pollen. Honey often is labeled from the season that it comes from, but we have to remember that different plants bloom at different times. So if you're allergic to ragweed and goldenrod, that's a fall blooming plant. And so if you take spring or summer honey, that doesn't have any of that pollen.
It has to be the prior year.
The problem with buying pollen is that it's never labeled. You have no idea what's in it because they just don't label it that way.
It could be a lot of other things that you're allergic to, and then you're just starting all over again.
And there isn't a lot of research on that to support that, but anecdotally, it's very well known. And the reason there's not a lot of research is that the pharmaceutical companies aren't going to benefit from doing research on honey or pollen.
Right.
So there just isn't a lot.
Exactly.
But there is research on honey, probably more so than pollen.
Right. But if you ask anybody who's doing it that way, they're going to tell you, we don't have issues with allergies.
It's kind of along the line of allergy shots, where you're exposing yourself a
over
little bit at a time.
Right.
And then eventually you will not have the shots anymore.
Right.
Could we talk again about the propolis? And I know that's pronounced different ways. People pronounce it differently. But could you share some of the stories that people have shared with you guys that they've experienced from using it?
Go ahead.
Well, we started using it as a family and kind of got 4 generations of our families using it, and we're just so amazed. We use it for the common cold, and what happens is it basically reduces the length, and that's what the research says, 2.5 times shorter than without treatment. But we've used it for asthma problems, upper respiratory infections. We have a 33-year-old son who still gets ear infections and thought we were crazy, but it works. And the really nice thing about that is that it also numbs. So if you have a kid or an adult with a screaming ear infection, they get almost instant pain relief.
Right.
It
reduces the inflammation in the ear, pain relief, and then killing whatever bacteria is happening within that ear. So
the research, there's just a ton of research that you can find on the National Institute of Health website, which is nih.gov. Probably 70 years worth of research especially on propolis and honey. And it's actually used all over the world pretty much, except in this country and the UK. We found out recently it's not in the UK, but people tell us, and when we see people at the fair and things, that we buy this in the pharmacy in Europe. Our daughter was in Mexico for 4 years. Buy it at the pharmacy in Mexico. And people use it as an antibiotic. It's also antiviral, and this is based on research, antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal, antioxidant in your body. So it acts as a kind of like things like CoQ10 and vitamin A and C, where it gathers free radicals in the body that are part of the disease process. It's also anti-inflammatory, and it's also analgesic, which means it gives pain relief.
Okay.
And
So what are some of the products that you guys have?
So we have our Propolis oils and tinctures, which are alcohol and oil based. Those are 10% Propolis, because all the research that we have done is between, or we've read about, is between 3 and 5% Propolis. So we're giving you actually more so that you can use less as your, and so that our Propolis will go a little bit further. The other thing we have is the nasal spray and the throat spray. The nasal spray I use every day to prevent myself from getting migraines, sinus infections. It helps with earaches and sore throats. Helps with sleeping because it opens up your sinus passages so you can sleep at night a little bit easier instead of, getting all clogged up. It's fantastic for that. We've actually had people who've taken the nasal spray or the throat spray, I can't remember which one, and gotten rid of warts on their hands. So it's because it's antiviral, warts will actually...
Exactly.
So it's those kinds of things. We have a 30% Propolis tincture that we saw research for women with endometriosis, and I might have Jeannie talk about that later. We are now getting into CBD, so we have our Propolis CBD line coming out with 3 different variations of what you can get and how that will help. We have our creams, which is our women's line, which is a Simply Be women's line. Has the Rejuvenate facial cream that helps with brightening skin tone, reducing fine lines and wrinkles, bringing that glow back to your, and elasticity back to your skin. We also have a Rejuvenate eye serum that helps with those same issues on your eye, a little bit softer, easier oil based product. Lips, lip balms. We have our shimmer stick and our blusher stick, which is a 3-in-1 blusher stick for your cheeks and your eyes and your lips. Great to carry around in your purse if you're, that moment you need a little bit extra something.
It's 3-in-1.
3-in-1, and then the shimmer stick on top of that will give you that highlights for your face or for your body and that kind of stuff. So just a little extra for us girls to, brighten up our skin. And then we have the Be Intense cream, which is has a little bit more beeswax in it. Beautiful oil-based product. A little bit of our product goes a long way because it is oil-based. We do not add any chemicals or any germicides to it, anything that would cause it to be, chemical-based or has a chemical.
And you guys do most of your, you have a kitchen down in Athens that you guys work out of. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Go ahead.
It's required because the Propolis products that you take orally are considered dietary supplements. We are required to manufacture that in an FDA and state certified facility. So we go to AceNet in Nelsonville right now, and that is a government-funded entrepreneurial kitchen that people with food trucks and small bakeries and things use, and we are able to use that facility to make our products.
Yeah.
And you guys do all of the making. You guys, that's one thing that when we were talking, I loved about your business is that you guys, you've started small. You did this all on your own, but you guys do everything. You do your own marketing, your labeling, you package it up. Can you talk about that?
Oh gosh, we've been lucky. As friends for 20 plus years, we all just play off of each other. Like I said, Jeannie loves the research. Steve loved to get into making things happen. My husband is doing his part, the financial part and the technology part.
Okay.
And then I have always done graphic design, so we just kind of like rolled off of each other, and we were able to use all of our skills.
Right.
And so that's how it ended up happening, and it's been great because we all have a place in the business. We all do our thing, and I do the labeling and the ads and the marketing and that kind of stuff. Though there will be times that I know that I need to get some extra help because I think I've plateaued on where I can do what I can do. I know it's...
Yeah, I think we all go there though. From time to time.
Like, I know I could have done a better ad, but anyway. And then Jeannie with the research and grant writing and helping with copy for those ads and that kind of stuff. So we really do play off of each other. It's been a great partnership, and it will continue to be a great partnership.
And you guys are involved in other community type things, clubs and...
We actually decided to start a bee club here in Lancaster. We found that the closest ones were to drive all the way to Columbus, all the way to Newark, or all the way to
There's
Circleville.
bees here, though.
I know,
And
exactly.
we just sent out postcards. We got some help from the Ohio State Beekeepers Association with addresses of registered beekeepers.
Oh, yeah.
And we had, in the middle of a predicted ice storm in January 2 years ago, we had 75 people show up to be interested in starting something. So we've been in existence now for a year and a half. We have 150 members of our club.
It's fantastic.
That's
so
pretty
you
great.
knew that just says there's a lot of beekeepers in this area.
Right.
And we are blessed to be a part of that.
Yep.
And that is the
Fairfield County Beekeepers.
Okay.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in becoming a beekeeper, that's a great place to start.
If we have just a little bit of time left, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you guys would like to share?
Well, I think the major part is that the Propolis is the foundation of our company. Every product we have has propolis in it, and propolis is great for every symptom it can help with.
It's amazing. Women with endometriosis, infertility.
And I've had that, and so I know.
We have an OBGYN physician who's a beekeeper that started sending women to us and had women getting pregnant.
Oh, wow.
We have a young friend that has been taking the propolis for probably 2 or 3 years now, and hers was so bad it had pulled organs out of place.
Right.
Oh,
and
goodness.
hers is almost gone.
Right.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
We know of 2 stories where people took propolis,
Stage 4 cancer.
kind
And
of just as a desperation,
Yep.
can't hurt to try it. Tell about Laurie's friend.
yeah, my mother-in-law is a pilot, and she has a friend who ended up getting a tumor on his jaw. And it got so bad he couldn't even smile. Didn't even want to eat. So they were like real worried that he was at the tail end of his life. And she gave him some propolis oil, and he was supposed to go in and have surgery. And they went in, and all they could find was an ulcer on his jaw, and no cancer anywhere in the lymph nodes or anything. We had another gentleman about 5 years ago who had stage 4 rectal cancer. His wife. It was her OBGYN who suggested that he come to us.
Wow.
He put the propolis on the tumor in his rectum, and a month later he was supposed to go and have reconstructive surgery, and they went in and they found no cancer. They had, and all they could find was an ulcer, a small ulcer, and no cancer cells.
That's amazing.
So we know that with research it shows at least 52 to 53 different types of cancer cells that are being killed
in a petri dish.
In a petri dish with propolis. So we know that it can do this. So if it can kill cancer, and it can fight the viruses, and it can fight the bacteria, you know that this product is bigger and better than just the honeybees making it in their hive.
Absolutely.
So.
If people would like to learn more about your business, or where they could buy your products, or even join your club, could you share all of that information?
Sure. Our business website is BEEpothecary.us, and we do have an online store. Our bee club is Fairfield County Beekeepers Association, and we do have a Facebook page under that name, and also a website under that name.
You can find BEEpothecary on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can find BEEpothecary. Our email address is beepothecary.gmail. At Gmail. So just email us any questions that you might have about, maybe something that's going on in your life, and we can definitely get you that research or abstract or whatever, and tell you how we.
Or even put someone in touch with somebody that you know that may have had
Absolutely.
the same issues.
Absolutely.
Pair those people together and, let them share their story. Hey, this is what I've been going through. This is what I did. And now.
Yep. And we're trying to get people with testimonials just to tell us how our products helped you, how propolis helped you. Let me put it that way. How propolis helped you, and so that we can share that with other people.
Great.
Because that's the best selling point ever.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time, inviting us out here. I've loved every single bit of this. I'm going to be getting products to help my allergies and my beauty over here. But thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That is all that we have time for today, you guys. BEEpothecary, Laurie Dotson, Jeannie Somm. Amazing people doing pretty incredible things. Check them out. And until next time, we will see you soon.